Okay, let's drop it.
Sadil, my guy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Good to meet you.
Shanvoy, pleasure
Good to meet you. I appreciate it, man.
That's right. All right, so I'm gonna do this in 3 different parts, right? 3 different parts, easily, real quick. If we were moving, barreling through space in the widely accepted version that NASA gives us at 64,000 miles per hour, right? While spinning on our axis at over 1,000 miles per hour, the constellations would change every hour. The stars would not be able to remain the same. Polaris, one star in the middle that all the other stars circle. The further you get away from Polaris, the faster the stars are moving. The closer you get inside of it, the slower they're moving. This star has not moved for eons, centuries, hundreds of thousands of years, which would be impossible if we were barreling through space.
Well, the question is, Antarctica is kind of the biggest thing when I talk to flat earthers. So Antarctica, right? If you were to enter Antarctica from beneath Argentina, right, Tierra del Fuego, and get onto Antarctica, if you went through the whole...
I know there are a lot of flat earthers out there. They get so amped when this conversation is being heard, but I'm going to be frank about this. I don't believe that flat earth is a conspiracy theory. No, don't hear me out. I don't think it's a conspiracy fact. I just don't think it's a conspiracy at all. I think it's just delusional. I think people that want to have this conversation don't have any grasp on. I mean, we can completely forget, whether or not we live in a heliocentric galaxy, all that kind of stuff. Put away the science, but I just think based on observational skills and just an awareness in regards to how the world works, in order to adopt this ideology, in order to have the mindset where you can have a look at the world, have a look at how the world is functioning, have a look at the hundreds, I think over 1,000 people have actually seen planet Earth and think they're all involved in a lie. And this is the kind of thing that you can't be deceived over easily. There are a lot of things that people buy into that they think are correct, but they're actually wrong about. But this isn't one of them. The people that have actually seen planet Earth, the astronauts that have actually gone to space and seen it, they know for a fact whether or not the Earth is flat or not. To not buy into their observation, not buy into the observation of not just the astronauts, but the pilots, the people that have experienced this on some tangible level, and then think that they're all delusional, and then to actually have a look at all the other things that require you to have a disconnect in observational powers, like to have a look at the planet, have a look at the other planets within our galaxy, or an entire universe for that matter, realize that they're spherical in nature, and then somehow come up with this observation that despite having a telescope, being able to see all of this, and then to have a look at this planet and say, well, no, it must be flat. It requires a tremendous disconnect in terms of understanding about so much of reality that I can't use any other word other than just a lack of awareness in terms of how the world works. It's a form of delusion. It's not to say that people, bearing in mind, not that long ago, the vast majority of the planet thought that the Earth was flat. And based on the current science that we had, or the current ability that we had at that time, it wasn't that as far a crazy statement, because most people weren't educated. Most people didn't have the ability to try to understand this. Galileo obviously was considered heretical, but based on the technology we have at our disposal and the reliance on the many people that have actually witnessed this, the idea of actually making this argument is the epitome of stupid. In terms of, and it's just one kind of stupidity. And I say this because, bearing in mind, I have many close friends that actually subscribe to this ideology. And it's not to say that they are stupid people. In terms of, it just has to do with their ability to look at the world and have an understanding of not just the physics, but the observation in regards to what's going on in the world. To actually arrive at that requires a disconnect. And that's with all the humility that I can muster. And it's as simple as that. Whereas you can have an understanding of many different things and be correct about it. This is one of them where, in order to arrive at this, there is a massive disconnect in terms of your understanding of what's going on in the world. The point where, if you're actually bringing this up in conversation, as far as I'm concerned, it means that on the adult table, in discussion in regards to what's really going on in the world in terms of reality, there's going to be such a big disconnect there that we're not going to be able to have a serious conversation about what's really going on in the world. That's how I feel in regards to this. This is the kind of stuff that is very disconcerting when I see people bringing up. And it's scary to think that it's 2025 and we still live in a world where people buy into this. And this is very different to the kind of conversation around having a religious belief where you think that Jesus walked on water and all that kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that you can't really disprove that easily. This is the kind of stuff that you kind of can on any kind of realistic level. And we're reaching the point now where it's becoming ever more difficult to, of course, people still make the argument, well, these satellites are fake, NASA's lying, all kind of stuff. But it just shows a level of cognitive dissonance that can't be anything other than an extreme form of delusion, as far as I'm concerned. And this is the level where you have to mitigate your honesty with also diplomacy, and there's no way to do it. I mean, for me to call this anything other than delusionality would be dishonest. And this is honestly what it comes down to with this particular conversation. But that being said, let's hear what this guy has to say about it.
Would you pop out on the other side of the sphere, on the other side of the southern hemisphere?
So when we talk about the Antarctic wall, right? It's not a sphere or a flat surface. It's a bandwidth. It's almost like a snow globe. You understand? So where the firmament is making the actual the solidified structure of clothes. The solidified structure that we're standing on is the Earth, and the Antarctic ice wall is around it. Okay. Encapsulating everything that we're in right now. So leaving outside of that, of course, you would get to more places, more pieces of the Earth.
Okay.
That we've been regulated away from.
Yeah. So the ice wall is not infinite, or it is infinite?
No.
So what's past the ice wall?
Or other civilizations.
Oh shit!
Yes,
so
sir.
on the same plane, there are other parallel societies.
Absolutely. Have you heard of Agatha?
No.
Agatha is believed to be the hollow Earth. And there are different Hopi prophecies. There are different different Native American prophecies in which they describe an ant people, an entire civilization. This will talk about the Atlanteans, even.
You see, this is where a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. Agatha, Hollow Earth, is something that is supported within the ancient records. It's spoken about at length. Shambhala, Agatha. Admiral Byrd made reference to seeing the entrance to Hollow Earth. But Hollow Earth, the idea of there being parts of the Earth that are leading to subterranean networks and so forth, and you can call them Hollow Earth, I mean, that's not that great an idea. Even the idea of there being a Hollow Earth that extends so far out that it has its own sun, and these are some of the depictions you see within the ancient writings, and, considered dubious. The fact that we haven't had people, at least openly within the mainstream records, journey that far down there. I'm not saying that hasn't been. I'm saying openly. It's not as crazy an idea. The problem I have is when flat earthers want to tie this into the whole idea of flat Earth and so forth. That because there are records in regards to Agatha and Hollow Earth, there must be evidence of flat Earth when there is none. I mean, the ancient records. I mean, I've had this conversation ad nauseum. Flat earthers will often make the argument that no, there's so much evidence supported in the ancient records. I mean, there is evidence supported in past records, because not that long ago, the world used to think that the Earth was flat because we didn't have the technology to be able to verify that. And anyone that has a high TQ is able to use technology, understands how these things work, satellites and so forth, and believes in astronauts and the fact that they're not all part of some mass hallucination, or they're all in control and so forth, understands that, yes, you can verify these things, right? Like a few hundred years ago, we didn't have that technology. But you go back much further, and there's this weird thing that happens, and the further back you go, it's like you become, humanity becomes more advanced. And yeah, they did actually have records of the Earth back then. The ancient Sumerians actually, in their depictions, depicted the Earth not as being flat, but actually being spherical. There's actually a diagrammatical representation of the 10 planets. And when I say that, there's a planet Earth. There's obviously the planets that we're aware of, Mars, Jupiter, so forth. They even mapped out Pluto, interestingly enough, in all its correct size, in all the correct sizes and so forth. And then the sun, and they're depicted. And the interesting thing is the ancient Sumerians also had records describing the colors of these different planets. So they mapped this well over 6,000 years ago within the cuneiform records. And interestingly enough, this is in the Hermetical sciences also. This is ancient Egypt. They actually had representations of this kind of stuff. So when flat earthers make reference to how in the ancient records they speak about flat earth, no, they didn't. Within the ancient records, so I'm talking about Kemetic knowledge, ancient Sumerian knowledge, the depictions are actually spherical in nature of planet Earth. It just so happens that as we go back a few hundred years ago, when this information was not as robust, had been obfuscated, people had an obfuscated understanding of planet Earth, and we've obviously corrected that through our technology and whatnot. But the idea that the ancient records actually support some idea of flat Earth could not be further from the truth. Flat Earth is not a conspiracy theory. It's just plain delusional. Anyone that has an understanding of whether it's esoteric sciences or history or technology understands that the Earth is not flat. And the biggest reason is just observational awareness. And anytime I see a situation where people are able to create a reality that disconnects them from reality, it's a form of delusion. If I was seeing on a daily basis proofs of reality, for instance, this is the fascinating thing about flat earthers. When you were seeing evidence to the contrary time and time again, and people are still coming up with evidence to deny it, it's a form of delusionality going on. Like, for instance, if I was to show video footage of satellites showing multiple different satellites, all right, of people showing planet Earth, and someone was to say, oh, it's all fake, it's all been created by NASA, it's all illusionary, and then I was to tell them of the many astronauts that have been to space, approaching 1,000, not just astronauts, pilots that have actually been to space above the ionosphere, the stratosphere, have actually seen this, they've seen the curvature and so forth, and they're all to tell me, well, they're all lying and so forth. It requires a mass level of delusion. And look, there are situations where people can get things wrong, right? For instance, anytime you're looking at a situation where a lot of people are looking at something and they're still getting something wrong, like through the phenomenon of Ash conformity. This is a situation where a group of people can be saying something is something else, right? Which convinces the minority to buy into that. So let's say you're in a classroom and all of the students are saying that one line is longer than another line. Most people will buy into that, right? Now, in a situation like that, I mean, that's something that's going on called Ash conformity. That's the kind of situation where you need to be strong enough in order to actually trust your ability to actually see what's going on. And that's something that can happen. But when you're seeing enough independent people, I mean, people that are... I don't believe in control by anyone in any capacity. People that you're aware of, that you trust, that have credibility, and enough people actually seeing this kind of stuff, and then you combine that with the not just the astronauts, but the pilots, and then the phenomenon of actually observing this thing with your own awareness. For instance, having a look at through a telescope and being able to see the other celestial bodies and seeing their nature, and then for someone to tell you something that is completely contradictory to that, it requires there to be a massive disconnect. And this is what I see within the flat earth community. The levels of disconnect that are required in order to buy into this narrative are so vast that there is a form of delusionality that is taking place. I mean, for someone to tell me that the earth is flat would be akin to someone telling me that my heart is not, I don't actually have a heart, it's non-existent. Even though I've never actually seen my heart personally, I can feel the effects of it. I've seen enough people demonstrate the fact that they all have hearts, and it behaves in a particular way. Even though I haven't seen my heart myself, I know it exists. Maybe that's not a fair analogy, but the level of disconnect I see taking place within this particular conversation is disconcerting, to say the least.
However you would like to call it.
Yeah.
But on these old maps, once you pass the ice wall, there are other continents just outside. with different types of ligers, different types of genetic splice, different type of aliens that you would call it.
Yeah.
So whether or not you would say they're extraterrestrial, interterrestrial, whatever it will be, that's connected into the Anunnaki thing. But
Yeah.
it's almost impossible that the science that NASA gives us to deceive gives us. You feel me?
I mean, just on a base.
This is a classic case of a little knowledge is dangerous. I mean, the thing is, there's so much truth in regards to ancient civilizations in terms of contact with different beings. I mean, there is so much to go on with this kind of stuff. But the idea of tying this into the Earth being flat, which is something I find flat Earthers do, it's just the highest level of ignorance, because it shows unequivocally to me that these people have done no research into these particular topics. I mean, in terms of ufology, this is something that I'm very much interested in, making a case for the fact that the U.S. government and governments around the world have actually been in contact with extraterrestrial craft, extraterrestrial entities, and so forth. There is a litany of evidence supporting that kind of stuff. I could spend another several hours, if not that, going through all the information in regards to that topic, and I have done in other podcasts. But the idea of saying because of that, well, it connects to the idea of flat Earth is just it's delusional. And it needs to be said, because unless, of course, the difficulty is speaking with people with a level of respect, but also with a level of integrity. So they're actually able to understand the quality of what they're actually saying, because there is no quality to these arguments. I truly don't believe that this particular conspiracy is something that should be dealt with on the adult table, because in the same way that I don't think it's an intelligent thing to be arguing with someone on whether or not, well, with a man on whether or not they are actually a man, if they are a woman, if that makes sense. But of course, this is something that's done time and time again, because people like to entertain delusional ideas, and I don't think this is something that should be done if you're trying to be of service to the truth.
Level, I hope that what you're saying is true. On like a science fiction adventure level, I want to go there and talk to the ant people.
The world's way more interesting, right?
But the big question is, what is the benefit that NASA would have in convincing us that the Earth is round as opposed?
And this is the other thing. Motive is so important in making any case. And the worst case that I have ever heard made for any kind of conspiracy theory is the flat Earth conspiracy theory. Anytime we're talking about conspiracies, for instance, why a big pharmaceutical organization might want to put forth something that is not as safe and effective as what they claim it to be, usually comes down to money, right? Usually comes down to money. But the idea, I mean, it's not really that big. It doesn't require a leap. That's just common sense. It doesn't require any kind of esoteric sense. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. But the motive that is assigned to why NASA might want to lie about the flat nature of the planet is just it's so bad. Like, and like I don't want you guys to have this idea that I'm somehow ignorant on this topic. I get hit up so many times every month to have interviews with flat earthers. I'm surrounded. Some of my closest friends are flat earthers, but it's just the kind of thing that you cannot have a serious conversation about, because it literally is delusional. It's the arguments and every single person without fail, and I don't care who hears this, every single person that has raised this particular topic in terms of their understanding about the kind of topics that I'm into. I mean, they might be, fully fluent in certain areas, like it might be fluent in terms of, metaphysical concepts and so forth. But when it comes to real history, when it comes to real esoteric knowledge, the level of awareness these people have is always on a very, very surface level, without fail, unequivocally, unassailably, because it is not possible in terms of having an understanding about how the world works to have an understanding of the world being flat and still be able to form connections that are actually salient in regards to how the rest of the world works. It would be like a mathematician not believing in arithmetic, or someone that is a musician that does not believe in scales in chords. I mean, it doesn't really work.
Opposed to flat. Like, what's the benefit for them?
Strongest indications of the slave mind is to get you to deny what you see with your own eyes. To get you to be able to see how close the sun is, how close the moon is, to be able to see the waters above and the waters below, to be able to connect these things in nature to yourself and deny it because somebody tells you that's not true.
So, wait, thanks for.
Yep, I heard that one 1,000 times. Yes, it's all part of an illusion to keep you trapped, man. Keep your mind trapped. That's what they just want to keep you ignorant. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, freaks and geeks, brothers and sisters around the world, as I often say, there are three things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the unassailable truth that the earth is not flat. But also the unbelievable ability for people to conjure up illusions about reality that are devoid of any semblance of truth. But ladies and gentlemen, remember to give us a thumbs up, tell your mom, tell your friends about it, drop us some comments, let us know what it is, and be sure to check us out. We got some podcasts coming up over the next few months. But until next time, kisses, hugs, belly rub. Signing out, your boy, Krishool. Peace.